Representative Matt Gaetz is facing a Justice Department investigation into accusations that he had paid women for sex and separately slept with a minor, transporting her across the state line. So, some serious allegations. Okay. Now, his wingman, Joel Greenberg, had reportedly also written a confession letter detailing their many alleged sex crimes. And that's not all. Apparently, there are new developments that are making Matt Gaetz' day even worse. CNN is reporting that federal investigators are seeking the cooperation of a former Capitol Hill intern who also was a former girlfriend. Oh, look at that. Now, again, this is on top of the cooperation they could secure from Mr. Greenberg. And so both of these together. Now, Greenberg is negotiating a plea deal over 33 different charges: sex trafficking of a minor, bribery, stalking, defrauding the Paycheck Protection Program, and is facing a deadline this week to cut a plea deal with prosecutors. Again, those are just some of the alleged crimes. Now, investigators are reportedly interested in the assistance of the former girlfriend, who was reportedly on the 2018 Bahamas trip with Gaetz that has come under scrutiny for potentially violating the Mann Act, which makes it a felony to transport people across state lines to engage in prostitution. So now, look, let's be clear. I support prostitution. I think that we should legalize that. Nonetheless, this has to do with a minor. And so, no bueno, not good. The girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, is also believed to have had knowledge of drug use and the arrangements with women, sources tell CNN. Now, that Bahamas trip has again become a focus for investigators who are scrutinizing whether women were paid to travel for sex with Gaetz and others, and whether the trip was part of an effort to illegally influence Gaetz in the area of medical marijuana. Now, that's interesting. Now, let's be clear. I'm in favor of full marijuana legalization, cannabis legalization, regulation, taxation. Policy-wise, Gaetz and I would actually be sort of on the same side. I'm not saying he's for legalization, but at least when it comes to medical cannabis, okay, and loosening prohibitions for the use of medical cannabis. Now, Gaetz apparently has a long history of advocating for medical marijuana and has introduced several pieces of legislation seeking to loosen laws regulating the drug, both as a state representative in Florida and as a member of Congress. Again, I don't think it's a bad position. I agree with that position. But, and here comes the but, there's always a but, if you're bribed to hold that position by companies, by corporations, business interests, then that's not good. That's bad. Even if I agree, as I said, I agree with loosening the laws on medical marijuana and also, again, lifting the federal prohibition and doing full legalization, regulation, and taxation of cannabis. That is my stated position. And I'm in favor of it because it's the right thing to do. We lock up way too many people for a plant that can actually be incredibly beneficial. There's medical value. Doesn't really harm anybody. I know personally a lot of people who smoke it, even though, this is an anecdote, for both medical and recreational reasons. And there are a lot of credible peer-reviewed studies that also show that it's not deserving of being a Schedule 1 drug. In fact, in the period between 1990 and 2014, there was actually a total of 60 different peer-reviewed studies on medical cannabis, 68% of which ended up being pro-usage, 8% were against usage, 23% were neither pro or con, and it's been shown as especially effective in a lot of these studies in treating symptoms of MS. Now, so again, giving some scientific backing on why marijuana prohibition, cannabis prohibition makes absolutely no sense. Now, here's the thing. If Gaetz is only in favor of it because of, being paid off by big corporate growers, well, then that's not good. Even if we're at the same position, it's not because he's doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's kind of the same issue like with John Boehner. John Boehner, who handed out tobacco checks, used to, on the House floor, back when he was Speaker of the House. Now he's working on behalf of cannabis growers. I mean, there's money involved here. And so it should be noted. Okay. That said, back to Gaetz. That former girlfriend also happened to be involved in some financial transactions the FBI had obtained, and investigators are pursuing what knowledge Gaetz had about the payment and activities. Sources say she now works in the Florida state government, according to state records. And last month, Politico reported the ex-girlfriend was a woman, the woman whose nude video Gaetz allegedly showed to other members of Congress. So you would assume that she might have a vested interest in testifying against him for that little stunt. In 2017, also according to CNN, she had been interning for a Republican lawmaker when she was supposedly fired for being a Democrat. At that point, Gaetz had asked Florida Democratic Representative Darren Soto to hire as an unpaid intern. I guess one of the perks, he would say, of being Matt Gaetz's girlfriend, getting her into a job. The cooperation of Greenberg and the former girlfriend could be among the final steps in the probe of Gaetz, which was started by Gaetz apparently probing too many people. Yes, there's that. Investigators view both as crucial in understanding the relevance of hundreds of transactions they obtained records of, including those involving payments for sex. Sources familiar with the investigation tell CNN. The ex-girlfriend could also be questioned by investigators about the second woman, as they try to determine whether Gaetz may have slept with that woman when she was, woman now, girl then, child then, 17 years old. So let's be very clear about that. Now, Greenberg's lawyer said in a court hearing last month that Greenberg intended to plea, which is expected to include a cooperation agreement with the government. The deadline set by the judge to do that is approaching at the end of the week, though an agreement has yet to be finalized. But if both of those agreements happen, the cooperation with Greenberg and the cooperation with the girlfriend, and, based on what they know, not looking good for Gaetz. Gaetzgate gets worse. And yet, by the way, Matt Gaetz is still on committees. He's still traveling the country. Still got a job. While Liz Cheney, and I ain't no fan of Cheney, Liz Cheney just got kicked from her committee assignments. And I wonder why. That's real weird. Very strange. Oh, right. It's because the Republican Party is the party of Trump. Matt Gaetz, incredibly pro-Trump. Liz Cheney, not so much. The Trump cult protects its own. And Republicans, interestingly enough, you do have Republicans out there that are kind of defending Matt Gaetz a little bit, despite the fact that they don't actually like him, but he's pro-Trump. And so he's on committees. He's out there touring with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, even while being investigated for being basically a creepy sex pest, having sex with a 17-year-old girl, as well as many other things. And so they defend that because that's the modern Republican Party. That's who they are. And you know what? When they show you who they are, you should believe them. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.